This is a chemical equation. It is a representation of a chemical reaction where one set of substances rearranges and forms new bonds to make a new set of substances. These are all chemical formulas of different substances. You may recognize this one right here, H2O, that is water. In the formula of a substance, we have subscripts. Subscripts tell you how many of a particular atom are in one molecule of that substance. So when we look at water, this subscript 2 means that we have 2 H's, or 2 hydrogen atoms, in every molecule of water. Since there's no subscript behind the oxygen, that means there is only one atom of oxygen in a molecule of water. When you look over here at glucose, C6H12O6, well, that means there are 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms in a molecule of glucose. The other thing that might be new to you in terms of a chemical formula is this abbreviation in parentheses after the formula. These letters represent the state that substance is in when this chemical reaction occurs. Okay, a G stands for a gas. An L stands for a liquid. We don't have one in this equation, but if there was an S, that would stand for a solid. AQ stands for aqueous, which means dissolved in water. So the abbreviation in parentheses is simply what state that substance is in when the chemical reaction occurs. A chemical reaction can be split into 2 sections, if you will. There's a section on the left side of the arrow and a section on the right side of the arrow. On the left side of the arrow, we have the reactants. On the right side of the arrow, we have the products. The reactants are the things that are put into that chemical reaction. In this case, glucose and oxygen. The outputs of the reaction are the products. They are the new substances that are formed by this chemical reaction. In this case, water and carbon dioxide. There's still one part to a chemical equation that we need to discuss, and that is the numbers that you see in front of a certain chemical formula. These numbers are coefficients, and they represent the number of molecules needed of that particular substance for the reaction to occur. So 6 in front of the O2 means we need 6 oxygen molecules in order for this reaction to proceed. If there is no coefficient in front of the chemical formula, once again, that means there is just 1 molecule of that substance needed for this reaction to go. So if I was going to interpret this chemical reaction from left to right, from reactants to products, what I could say is we have 1 molecule of glucose, which is dissolved in water, reacting with 6 gaseous molecules of oxygen to form 6 liquid water molecules plus 6 carbon dioxide gas molecules and a bunch of energy. That is exactly what this chemical equation is saying. You may recognize this chemical equation, and I really hope you do. It should look familiar to you. This is the chemical equation that represents cellular respiration. The energy we get as a product is actually in the form of ATP. ATP is the molecule used by cells to fuel all the different chemical reactions that occur inside of a cell. That energy in the form of ATP is produced during the reaction. When energy is produced during a reaction, that reaction is said to be exothermic. There is a release of energy when the chemical reaction occurs. I think of it this way. Exo is like exit. So in an exothermic reaction, energy is being released, usually in the form of heat, hence the term exothermic. So here is another reaction. Once again, if we can find the arrow, we can identify the things on the left side of that arrow as the reactants and the substances on the right side of that arrow as the products. Reactants are the inputs. Products are the outputs. If we look at the substances that take part in this reaction, we have H2O, water, in the liquid form. We have CO2, meaning we have 2 atoms of oxygen and 1 atom of carbon in this substance, carbon dioxide, as a gas. We have energy actually being put into the reaction this time to form glucose that is dissolved in water in an aqueous solution and oxygen gas. Remember that the coefficients tell us how many of each molecule we need to complete this reaction. We need 6 liquid water molecules reacting with 6 gaseous carbon dioxide molecules and put in some energy to create a molecule of glucose and 6 oxygen molecules. Maybe you have recognized that this is the exact same reaction that we just talked about, but in reverse. That would be an astute observation. This reaction should also look familiar. In a very general sense, the reverse of cellular respiration is photosynthesis. The energy in this case is sunlight. Sunlight drives the process of photosynthesis. It's energy being put into the reaction. If energy is put into the reaction, that type of reaction is called an endothermic reaction. Endo, kind of like in. We have to put energy into the reaction in order for the reaction to proceed. Whenever you have to put energy in, whenever energy is a reactant, that is an endothermic reaction.